going to get the view from the other side of the aisle now. The #2 Democrat in the Senate leadership, Dick Durbin of Illinois. Senator, you just heard the congressman. Why did the president take this tack?
He had no choice, Bob. I've listened to the Republican response to the president's executive action. It is clear that they can complain, they can threaten, they can talk about lawsuits, cutting off funding, shutting down the government, in the extreme, even impeachment. But the real question is, can they govern? Can they govern? It's been 513 days since we sent the bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform bill from the Senate, which passed with 68 votes, to the House of Representatives. They've never called the bill. They've never had a hearing on the bill. They've never taken up any part of it. And now they complain because the president has stepped in and said we need accountability when it comes to immigration. They have to step up and govern. You asked the key question. Do you, among the Republicans, and Mr. McCall, do you among the Republicans have your act together? Do you know what you want? And at this point, it's not clear. Do they want to continue with the current broken down system, which is de facto amnesty? Do they want to sponsor some sort of massive deportation? I hope not. Or do they want to work with us?
Let me just ask you this. Why, and I'm just asking because I'd be interested in what your reaction is. Why didn't the president talk about that bill and say, look, you guys have been saying you want to do something. Send me a bill up here. I'll either sign it or I'll veto it. Or maybe once you send it up here, I'll say there's a couple of things I don't like. Can you change this? Why didn't he do that instead of what they say, just sticking them in the eye with a stick?
Let me try to recall back in July when Speaker Boehner was promising the president he was going to send him a bill. And at that point, the president waited, as he said, strategic patience. Let's wait for the Republicans. Whatever they send me, I'll work with them. It never happened. And the president said, I have no choice. What he's stepping forward to do now is, I think, what most Americans want to see. We want to make sure that if you're living in this country undocumented and you've been a drug dealer or a gangbanger, you're gone. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's why the president put this criminal background check in. We want to make sure that those who are working here are paying taxes into our government, and we want to strengthen the border. The president wants to focus our resources to make sure we have even more security on the border, to make certain that we are deporting those who are truly a threat to our communities. When the Republicans talk about cutting the funding for the president's program, they're cutting funding for border enforcement and for deporting those who are dangerous to our country.
Let me just quote to you what some Republicans are saying to me. They're saying, look, he's not trying to get anything done here. What he's trying to do is force us into doing something like, shutting down the government, which he thinks will hurt us and put Republicans in jeopardy for 2016. What would your explanation for that, or what would your answer to that?
I hope and I believe that the Republicans on Capitol Hill learned a lesson when Senator Ted Cruz of Texas shut down the government over the Affordable Care Act. It was a political disaster, which they should never repeat. What the president is doing is basically saying, I'm going to do what I can within my power to have accountability in immigration. And now it's your responsibility. And let me add, too, they have almost 20 days left this year to call the bipartisan bill from the Senate. They could do that instantly in the week after Thanksgiving. And I hope that they will. That will really be an opportunity to see if the will is there in the House to pass it.
What you talk about the leadership amongst the Republicans, and are they together? Are Democrats together here? We know that in the Senate, we know of at least 5 Democrats that voted against Harry Reid. We know that Harry Reid's top aide is sitting here making disparaging statements about the president, blaming him for losing the midterms. How does the president get along with Democrats these days?
Very well, but I think there's a reality. In the states the president did not carry, some of the states where there were disastrous results just a few weeks ago, it's pretty clear that some Democrats are putting some distance between themselves and the president. That's not unusual in American politics. But I believe that there is an overwhelming majority within the Senate Democratic caucus for what the president is doing. We stood up on a bipartisan basis and created a good bill to deal with immigration. We know now that the House has that same responsibility. And I think all Democratic senators stand behind the president in trying to make this a safer nation with this accountability, and also to make certain that those who are working here with a temporary work permit are going to pay their fair share of taxes.
Why do you think Democrats did so poorly in these midterm elections?
It's a variety of things. Historically, off-year elections are not kind to the president's party. Secondly, there isn't a lot of happiness with Washington, D.C. And as a consequence, a lot of people have given up on the thought that Washington can even improve their lives. I think that accounts for the fall off in turnout in many states. So I think we have to restore some hope and confidence.
Do you see anything changing?
I think it can. Your earlier guest from the NAACP talked about some of the issues facing us with race and crime. I'm working on a bill with Cory Booker, as well as Mike Lee and Rand Paul, and also Ted Cruz, to deal with the smarter sentencing guidelines. There's an opportunity here, and I hope that we seize it to do some bipartisan activities to move this country forward.
Well, I think most people would say they hope you succeed in that.
I hope.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a minute.